Hi, I'm Cash with CashedOutCars, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a review of Devin's 2018 four-door Civic SI. So I'm really excited about this. This is the newest car that I've ever driven, and it's cool that it's a sporty new car. So we're going to hop in. I'm going to go over how it drives and how it makes the driver feel. I don't want to focus on numbers too much. We'll talk about it just a little bit, but I really want to focus on how the car makes the owner feel and how it makes the driver feel while they're driving. So with that said, let's jump right into it. Got a little bit of rumble on startup.
Yeah. Not as much, way more than it did originally.
Yeah. All right, guys, so we're taking off in this new Civic SI, and the first thing you notice is how easy this thing is to drive. It's got a super light clutch. It's got a super light shifter to move around, and I think that's pretty cool. Compared to other things that I've driven, it's definitely one of the easiest cars. Another thing that you realize right off the bat is it's a little bit louder than the other day when I saw it. So you can explain what's going on with that.
So yeah, well, the first thing that you notice when you start the car is that it's way too quiet, even for a normal car. Yeah, when it's dead stock, it's super quiet. It's way too quiet, and obviously did not like that, being the owner of it. And so I decided that I was going to do a muffler delete, because as of right now there's not a really big selection on exhausts. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to strip the mufflers off. If you look under the car, you're like, wow, that is totally effed up. Yeah, it looks a little funny under the car, but we're hoping to not flip it so people don't see the underside of the car. Exactly. And then you're good to go. Yeah, and the car's already low enough to where it's not like you can see it from like just looking at it. Yeah, I would say it sounds great. When he said he was doing the muffler delete, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous, because sometimes hacking mufflers off ends up not sounding great, especially on a brand new car. But with this, it actually sounds really nice. From the outside, it sounds great, and from the inside, it's got a little bit of tone to it, which is exactly what you want. And it's not too drony either, and that's kind of nice. Yeah. Another thing that you notice right off the bat when you get in the car, before you even start it, is interior quality. Interior quality in these cars is actually really nice. So I'm used to driving around in a Mark 6 Volkswagen, and my friend has a Mark 6R. So I'm in those cars, which have pretty nice interiors. And I would say that this is right on par with those German cars. The wheel is leather. Might be vinyl, but it's leather, yeah. Okay, it's real leather, and it feels great. It's got really nice support for your hands, so when you're driving around, it really feels like you're gripping it and you're not going to slip or anything. The seats are bolstered very nice too. We haven't done too much spirited driving just yet. I'll probably talk about them a little bit more later in the video. But they hug you really nice, and they're super comfortable. Devin drove up how many hours from Georgia to get back up to Connecticut? Yeah, it was about took me a little bit longer. It was like a 14.5-hour drive. It was like 950 miles. So it was quite a while. But apart from the occasional break at a rest stop, or stop to get food, I didn't have a problem driving in it. The seats were pretty comfortable. Yeah. And I would say, all in all, it's a very nice place to be. There is some carbon print. Oh, I definitely got to drop a gear here, get a little power. There is some carbon print on the dash, which is not real carbon, but honestly, I would say it's the best looking carbon print that I've seen in a car. So I'm pretty impressed with that. I do a lot with composite stuff, and being around real carbon fiber a lot, this stuff looks really good. Another thing is the shifter feel is pretty nice. It's just a pretty standard ball shifter, but in your hand it feels good. That's also covered, and yeah, just once again, the interior quality is really nice in this thing. Yeah, so on it a little bit right there. The tone is really nice. You do just hear a tiny bit of the turbo in the background, because this is a turbocharged 1.5 liter 4-cylinder. And you hear the turbo a little bit. It's not like obnoxiously loud. And when you let off, you hear just a little bit of blow off, but not a whole ton. So I would say it's nice and subtle, and you definitely hear it if you're listening to it, but it's definitely not obnoxious. The idea is to make it obnoxious, though.
So I just got on it a little bit more there through third and fourth gear, and it pulls pretty good. It's definitely quick. It's a lot faster than my car. I have a Mark V Volkswagen Rabbit, and that's pretty sweet. It's really nice. It's fast revving into this turn right here. I did rev match a little bit on throttle, and the revs come right up, and it's really nice. The engine doesn't feel lazy when you're trying to do that. Sometimes in my car, the engine does feel lazy and the RPMs are slow to come up. So that's really nice to see in these cars. So far, I'm having a blast, and it's really so. Back there, when I was in a gear that was a little bit too high, I was in fourth when I probably really should have been in second. There's not a whole lot of power down low when you're not really on it, and when you're down around, I was probably like 1500 RPM. There's not a whole lot because the turbo's not really spooled down there, but once you get into the turbo range, it pulls pretty good.
Yeah, I think the turbo range on this is, it starts to kick in, like you'll get like 1 to 2 PSI right around 2300 RPMs, but you'll get full boost around 32.
Okay. Yeah, so right there I quickly downshifted, and we shot up to 15 pounds of boost, and it takes off right about there.
Yeah.
So on the brakes a little bit harder right here. Wow, I actually really like the feel of them. So that right there was the hardest I've gotten on the brakes in this car, and the pedal feel is great. It's really nice and firm. The car is brand new, so I would expect that.
Right.
But I would say, all things considered, braking in this car feels really, really good. It gives me a lot of confidence in the pedal that you're gonna stop, and that wasn't anywhere near full force with ABS kicking in, and it slows down really nice.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. It's a little bit more gradual than most other cars that I've driven on full, like when you fully depress the brake.
Yep, so you think it's a little bit more progressive? It's not like it's either biting or not biting?
Yeah, honestly, it feels like it that way. It feels like it's more progressive.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. It feels really predictable braking, whereas my car and the Mark 6 GTI that I drive a lot, it's kind of like an on-off pedal to start, and then after that it's a little bit progressive. So this is pretty nice with the brake setup, I would say. Out of that turn, this thing is pretty quick. It's definitely putting a smile on my face. And the sound is really, really great.
Yeah, every day it puts a smile on my face.
I'm so impressed with that muffler delete, dude. Yeah, so right now this car is basically stock, and Devin has some plans for it. He could talk about those real quick.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's right now it's basically stock. The only thing I've done is visual modifications, which not even really any, and then the muffler delete. As by the end of like next month, I plan on getting the PRL Cobra intake, as well as the PRL front-mounted intercooler. I want to do the PRL catless downpipe and front pipe as well. And the reason I'm doing PRL is honestly because they've got pretty much a full lineup for the 10th Gen Civics, and from what I've seen, they work really nice with the K-tuner, which is kind of the road that I want to go for my tune on it. So yeah, what's this car make right now for power and torque? So right now for power and torque, I dynoed it, and it makes 206 and some change to the front wheels with 195 foot-pounds of torque.
Cool. Now with the tuner and those modifications, what do you think you'll be looking at about?
From what other people are dynoing and from what I kind of expect just based on the modifications, I expect to get anywhere between 240 to 250 to the wheels and like 250, 260 torque.
Sweet. So yeah, that'll be a pretty big upgrade with the tune and those small modifications.
Definitely.
And I think it'll wake it up a lot. Right now I would say it's definitely pretty quick. I would say it's on par with Mark 6 GTIs. One thing is, I do drive a lot in a Mark 6 GTI, and that car does have a DSG, so I think it feels a little bit faster because it shifts super, super fast. But it's not as engaging because this has the manual, and I really, really enjoy the manual in this thing. And I think manual for manual, if we did a drag race, I think they would be pretty much dead on for speed.
I think they'd be pretty close. Honestly, the Mark 6 might pull ahead, honestly, to begin with.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's got more low-end power.
Yeah, I think the 6s definitely do have a lot of low-end torque, which is nice. This, like I said, when you get on it in the low RPM, sometimes there's not a whole lot. Like right here, 2,000, and now foot flat, turbo spooling. And once the turbo spools, it takes off. But I think low end, the 6s do have a little bit more torque. But that's also kind of fun with this, because you have to wait for it and then it hits you, which you don't get in the 6 GTIs like I really want. But right now we're going through some turns, and one thing I haven't talked about a whole lot is the handling of this car. And doing what we're doing right now, we're not doing anything crazy, but I would say we're doing some spirited driving. And I would say this car is really nice and tossable. It goes exactly where you think it's going to go. Obviously we're not pushing to the edge of grip, but on some back roads it's really, really fun. So this thing has some pretty nice grippy tires. What are they, 240 treadwear?
Yeah.
240 treadwear tires on them. They're Goodyear Eagle F1s.
Yep.
And they're definitely...
they're actually stock too.
Yeah. They're the tires that come on the car, which is awesome. I love the Hondas selling these cars with some really nice summer tires on them, which is just really cool. So guys, we're at a stoplight right now, windows down, and we're just gonna do a quick pull here. Yeah, you definitely get a little bit in first gear. Traction control definitely comes on because this car does have a nice amount of power, which is sweet. Once you get up into the higher gears, like once I got to second, it didn't really torque steer, which is pretty cool. We also haven't really touched on yet. The visuals on this car are actually really, really cool. It's definitely aggressive, and it definitely looks kind of futuristic with everything that they did on this car. Something like a Mark 6 GTI, and I don't want to make this a comparison, but it's what I'm around a lot, and that's kind of my niche for cars, is a lot more subtle compared to this. This is a lot more spaceship-like. He was following me the other day, and this thing looks great following a car. It definitely looks super aggressive with all the lights on and the running lights and everything, and it's pretty impressive because it looks like something fast is behind you when one of these is behind you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
So another thing that's really, really cool about this car is the gauge cluster. So it's all electronic, which means you could pull up a whole bunch of different information on there and just have it right in front of you. So right now I'm driving around on the boost gauge because it's pretty cool to see when the turbo's spooling and when it's not. But there are a whole bunch of other options like a shift light. And what else could you pull up on the screen that's cool to see?
So honestly, the big ones that I use the most are the boost gauge, which I have it on 90% of the time. You have your fuel mileage, which probably is on for another 5% of the time.
Yep.
And then the one that I actually like a lot too is the brake and gas pressure. You can actually see how much pressure you're putting on each one of the pedals, which is, I think, pretty sweet.
Yeah. I think that's a really, really cool thing to be able to pull up, because it's like you're watching like a F1 onboard or something where they're showing you, okay, your brake's at this pressure, your throttle's at this pressure.
Yeah.
And it's just live there in front of you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And then another one that is interesting to me, but I don't really see a use for, to be honest, is a G-force calculator.
Yep.
It actually, depending on where you're turning, how fast you're going, it'll actually show you where your G-force is positioned. So
we would have had some G's right there.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
We would have definitely had a couple G's right there, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely faster in sport mode.
Yeah, you can feel it.
Alright guys, so Devin just informed me that we did pretty much the whole review in normal mode, not sport mode. So we're out for another quick rip here in sport mode. Right away when you turn on sport mode, the steering gets a little bit heavier. There's more resistance to it, which is pretty cool. It pushes more boost through the engine, so it's faster. Right there we just did a quick pull up the hill, and I think it was pushing 17 or 18 pounds of boost.
Yeah, in normal mode, it kind of tops. It goes anywhere between like 12 to 14 is pretty much where you'll get. And then in sport mode, you'll get right around 15 to 17.
Yeah. So it definitely pushes more boost through the engine. It's noticeably quicker, which is pretty sweet. It also looks like it changes a little bit of damping settings or spring rate settings in the suspension, which I'm going to play around with a little bit here and see if I could feel it. I'll take this turn not ridiculously fast, but spirited, I would say.
Yeah, it attempts to make it a little bit stiffer just to give the ride a little bit more of a sporty feel.
And I would say that it does. I wouldn't say that it's a completely different car in sport mode in terms of suspension, but it's definitely faster in a straight line. The steering wheel definitely has more weight to it, which is pretty cool. And I would say everything I talked about in sport mode is the same, but just magnified a little bit. A little bit faster in every way, a little bit sportier.
Yeah.
So thanks for letting me know that I was forgetting that.
Hey, yeah, no problem. It's kind of funny that we didn't realize it until we actually finished the original drive.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap up this video. All in all, I would say that the Civic SI is a great car that's super, super easy to drive. It's definitely quick. It's got a good amount of power, and the interior quality is great. So thank you so much to Devin for letting me take this thing out for a rip today and showing it off to you guys.
Pleasure's mine.
So with all that said, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more car reviews, tutorials, and driving videos. And I hope you stick around for the next one. Take care.